President Richard Nixon did not command the battlefield-tested and proven respect granted his former boss, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who preferred to be called the General rather than Mr. President. Nixon did not possess the handsome looks and blue-blood ease of his one-time rival, President John F. Kennedy. He wasn't politically confident or strategic like his immediate predecessor, President Lyndon B. Johnson. In short, the longtime politician who had served in the House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate as vice president, and as governor of the state of California before finally winning his dream job at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the nail-bitingly close 1968 election, was not known for his charisma. He bungled any hope of a positive legacy with the infamous break-in at Watergate that forced his resignation in 1974, but ultimately did one thing right. He set the United States on a path toward environmental protection by enacting a suite of laws that remain the foundation of our stewardship today. In fact, Nixon's White House was a virtual hotbed of environmental activism at a time when the goal was shifting from conservation of natural resources to regulating the release of pollution. Over his 5+ years in office, Nixon signed into law the Clean Air Act of 1970, the Endangered Species Act, laws against ocean dumping, the National Environmental Policy Act, which studies potential environmental impacts of federal construction projects, and the bill creating the Environmental Protection Agency. There was, however, one blemish on Nixon's environmental record. The Clean Water Act of 1972 was enacted only because Congress overrode his veto through bipartisan action. Despite his nearly stellar eco-friendly record, Nixon was not a natural-born environmentalist. Most domestic policy sat far outside his wheelhouse or even his sphere of interest, but he was surrounded by senior staff who cared deeply about the environment. In fact, his unlikely relationship with Democratic advisor Daniel Patrick Moynihan, a man described as 6 foot 5 inches of corrosive wit, infuriating candor, and towering intelligence, deserves some credit for Nixon's environmental accomplishments. But how did Moynihan, a veteran of both the Kennedy and Johnson administrations and a stalwart Democrat, break into Nixon's inner circle? It was an incredibly close election in 1968, and Nixon was coming in with an opposition Congress. Advisor Stephen Hess recalled of his boss's early days in office. The president-elect really felt he needed some prominent Democrat to serve in his administration. The liberal Moynihan, an advocate for welfare who himself had grown up poor in New York City, was just the guy. The friendship between the erudite Harvard professor and the socially awkward president was one of strange bedfellows. Of all the odd couples in American public life, they are probably the oddest.